Now we are taking up the technique in which we can separate the mixture of two solids based on their, or you can say by using a method of taking a suitable solvent, right. So the principle is going to be that one of the component will be soluble in that component, that given solvent, and the other won't be soluble, right. So with this I have taken in, for your demonstration, I have taken an example of the two mixture, that is the sand and the salt. And the apparatus which is required, I am just making you familiar with all those things. See, this is a china dish, this is a beaker, small size beaker, this is a petri dish containing the sand, this is again a petri dish containing a salt, because these two will be mixed to make a mixture, alright. This is again a beaker, but a big size beaker. This is the water, the clean water, distilled water which I have, the clean tap water which I have taken. This is the funnel. Again it is a filter paper, a tripod stand, you can see a wire gauge and a burner. So this whole, and of course a stirrer, how can I forget, because we need this to mix anything, right. So this is the whole apparatus, the whole things which we need to carry out the demonstration of separating the mixture of two solids. So now how I am going to do that, just to make it easy, first of all I am just removing this burner, because we won't be using this burner at this moment, we will be using, but later on we will require that, right. So first of all, our first step to make a solution, right, the first step is to mix these solid, right, to make a mixture of two solids. So I am just mixing these two solids, right, into each other like this, and I am just mixing them, because now it has become the mixture of two solids, that is a salt and of course a sand. You can see it is just mixing, getting mixed. Now the salt particles are no longer remain as salt, or they cannot be used to add into a vegetable or something, or a veg or a dal in something, because they are now become unfit for eating purpose. It is just mixed with the sand, right. So see, we have got the mixture of two solid, that is the sand and the salt. Now I am going to use a particular solvent, and the solvent that I am going to use is a water, because water is a it is a universal solvent. So I am going to take a water, and I am just going to add water into a beaker, right, and I am going to add this sample into it, right. Now I am just stirring it. Now this has a salt as well as sand, that is a mixture of salt and sand. I am just stirring it with the help of stirrer. What you get to see, the salt particles are dissolving in a water, because we know salt is soluble in water. So the mixture, the two components, out of two components, the one is soluble, so that means the salt is soluble, it is getting dissolved, but somehow the sand is not getting dissolved. You can see it is just accumulated at the bottom, but still many particles are accumulated in the water as well. That means it is getting mixed, but not thoroughly mixed, because sand particle remains suspended and the salt particle gets almost dissolved. And you also know that when salt is added to water, it forms a true solution, and when the sand is added to water, it forms a suspension, because the solute size in case of salt, for example, salt is acting, the salt size is too small, and you can say the sand size is bigger, that is why it is forming a suspension. So I have just tried to dissolve as much as I can do, and I have seen that almost all the salt is dissolved in the water, but the sand hasn't, but some few particles are looking suspended in the water molecules, right. So I have just kept it aside, right. Now how I can separate the one of the component from it? We know that the salt is being soluble in it and the sand is not soluble, so it is settled at the bottom, right. But still it is not all the sand particles are settled at bottom, few are looking suspended in the water molecules, because if all the particles remain settles at the bottom, we can remove it by the decantation. But all the particles are not settled at the bottom, few particles are just suspended in the water. So that means we need to carry out, we cannot carry out the decantation, we need to carry out the different process. So the different process which I am using to separate sand is the filtration, right. So I am just using a filter paper. You know how to use it now. I have told you in the previous experiments as well. We are just folding it, making a cone like shape, and then just fixing in the making just resemble as a mouth of the funnel, a cone shape, right? And I've just put in like this, and now I have put this beaker, it is almost empty, so into it, and I'm just pouring the mixture, a solution which contained the mixture of two solid, that is the sand and the sand and the salt. I'm just pouring in it. So what is going to happen? The salt particles form the true solution, and we know the true solution always pass through filter paper. They are not stopped by the pores of filter paper, right? So we are just separating it, and what we get to see, we get to see you can say the sand is being separated, and the filtrate is just collecting in this beaker, and this filtrate is not a pure water, it is a salt solution, because salt particles pass through the pores of the filter paper because they are too small to get separated.